Fresh
What
killer.
up, tribe? How art thou? Back stateside, I wanted to review the documentary by one Trap Lord Ross on King Von, and it's titled King Von Serial Killer, question mark. It examines the possibility of King Von being hip hop's first serial killer. Throughout the 3.5 hour documentary, they build the case for King Von out of Chicago's drill scene for him being hip hop's first serial murderer. And let me tell you, first off, I was reluctant to watch it because I said, who is Trap Lord Ross? And I was concerned about him being a white guy from Britain, claiming that this rapper who is now deceased is a serial killer, and him profiting from the life of young Black men, right? So that was my concern. And I must say, after watching it, when you are watching it, the major takeaway is not Trap Lord Ross, but the major takeaway is, wow, this kid, King Von, documented everything on Twitter. It is wild as hell. There is no other way to put it. And King Von, if you don't know, he was a rapper associated with OTF. I think that's what's called, OTF, with Durk out of Chicago. This whole drill scene, there's a drill scene in New York, there's a drill scene in Jacksonville, Florida, there's a drill scene in a lot of different places. It all started in Chicago with Chief Keef. One of Chief Keef's, somebody from his neighborhood, a younger guy, was King Von, right? And so he comes from that neighborhood where drill started. And he went to jail. He was doing dirt in the streets. Ultimately, Durk, who had made it, like was the biggest name from that neighborhood at that time. After Chief Keef kind of stopped rapping, after he beat a murder case, King Von did. What you call it? His homie Durk put him on, right? And so, so this guy, King Von, would commit a murder and then be tweeting about it like 10 minutes later. This guy be tweeting, oh, y'all having a party in y'all hood, y'all shouldn't go to that party. And then the party would get shot up. It was like, it's hard to conceive, right? But I put it this way. Imagine if Monster Cody Scott, aka Sanika Shakur, the guy that wrote an autobiography of an LA gang member, and who is a Crip, a second generation Crip, who is also now deceased. But he wrote the Monster Cody autobiography. Imagine if Monster Cody had Twitter. Imagine if Monster Cody could go live. He would probably be doing some of the same things, right? And as entrenched as Monster Cody was in the streets, I'm telling you, King Von was equally entrenched. And so the takeaway from it, it wasn't Trap Lord Ross, and I'm going to give Trap Lord Ross, I'm going to give him some credit because he really compiled so much information. He got it from Twitter. He got it from DMs. He got it from all the Instagram lives. He got it from newspaper sources. He got all this stuff on King Von, most of it him incriminating himself, and he put it together in this 3.5 hour documentary. He did a good job with it. He also tried to be empathetic towards the plight of the young Black male growing up in the ghetto. It seems sincere. I don't know him personally enough to say, was it sincere? Of course, I am skeptical because I know he's profiting a great deal from this. but he did kind of outline the conditions. He outlined King Von, his father having been murdered when he was a young age, and he outlined some of his closest friends being murdered and how that might take a toll on him. He outlined the poverty in South Side of Chicago in the housing project where O-Block, where King Von lived. So he did a pretty good job of providing the context that created the killer that King Von, the alleged killer, I think it's pretty confirmed, but let's just say the alleged killer, the King Von became. And so he laid it out in a way that it is palatable. But I must say this for my people who will watch this documentary, I'll put it in the description. Listen, take it like 30 minutes at a time, okay? No, honestly, don't try to watch it all in one day. I've never watched anything on YouTube that long, but that just goes to show like how engaging it was. But watch it, you're gonna take like a week to do it. Act like it's your favorite whole series, download it on Netflix and you wanna savor it, right? Don't try to binge watch it. It's just a lot. It's an awful lot. So he did a good job. Trap Lord Ross did, but to get into some criticisms, I will say that I didn't look at his whole page, Trap Lord Ross, until after I watched the doc. And then when I look at his whole page on YouTube, I don't like it. It's a lot of content about Black rappers who have bodies, who have allegedly killed someone. And it's kind of a bizarre thing for him to kind of put a stake in and say, okay, this is my market. So it made me uneasy after I watched it, for sure, putting everything out there. And then also I want to push back on the case that he's building of King Von being a serial murderer, right? I would look at King Von as being a soldier who really believed in his cause. They say that based on the documentary, King Von was involved in 11 murders. They say he's involved in, directly or indirectly, 11 murders. He wasn't indiscriminately, shooting up malls or playgrounds. He was targeting his opposition and he was terminating them. My goodness, at a very alarming rate, right? But here's my deal. Would you call Chris Kyle, right? American Sniper from Texas. He's a hero. His funeral was at Cowboy Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Would you call him a serial murderer? Right? It's easy to dismiss him. I'm talking about King Von now, as being depraved, right? He compares him at one point to Jeffrey Dahmer. And I thought, well, that's very, very interesting. And he lays this out by saying normally serial killers have a particular type, right? And he went after other young Black men that are in the same situation that he's in. Okay, fine. This much is true. But once again, can you say that Chris Kyle, he went after young Iraqi men who are in the same situation that he is, or any sniper or any war hero for that matter? Would you say that they are serial killers? Would you feel as comfortable making a documentary building the case for Chris Kyle being a serial killer as you obviously were so emboldened to create this documentary about King Von, right? And why do you feel comfortable making this documentary about King Von being a serial killer and not any of these soldiers? Pick one. Any of these soldiers from the recent war in Afghanistan and Iraq, or World War II or Vietnam or whatever. Would you do that? Right? And chances are that he would not. So I had a problem with that. And he also, he pays attention to a lot of details, which is a good thing. It makes it really engaging as far as deciphering cryptic lyrics that King Von would rap about and saying, oh, he's talking about this person that he killed and that person, whatever, etc. But it also could be a bad thing because he talks about King Von really loves cereal. And I think that he was subconsciously saying that he was a serial murderer. I'm like, come on. That's kind of a stretch, but whatever. Use your hyper analytical skills to break down whatever. Everything is fair game, I guess, for you when you're talking about a dead Black man from Chicago, right? So I will say that, but overall, I can't front. I kept coming back to it, y'all. I kept coming back to it for about eight days straight. I kept coming back to it. Around halfway in, I was like, oh, okay, I got it. But I could not stop watching. And listen to me, I'm gonna go ahead and recommend it. I'm gonna recommend it. And it was just so much. The manner in which the drill scene, the manner in which they say names of the people that they killed, and I was smoking on ops, you smoking on the people that you killed, the ways in which it's like a game. I don't know. I've been listening to gangster rap literally my whole life. I am at the age where I cannot really remember when gangster rap was first created. I just remember listening to like Spice One in elementary school, and it was always bloody. It was always depraved. And later on, I was very disturbed by some of the things that I was listening to. But I'm going to tell you something. This drill scene, it's like very extremely personal. For example, back in the day, earlier, like let's say in the 90s era, right? Or even the 2000s era, the person that rapped was generally close to the person that was a killer, right? Like that person was in his crew. Now with this drill scene, it is that person who is actually doing the killing. He's not part of the entourage. He's not kind of working security. That person is getting the deal. King Von was a known assassin, right? Based on the documentary and other sources, it was known that he was really getting his hands dirty, and that person got the deal. And so you can blame the A&R person, which in this case would be like Lil Durk, kind of put his pot on, discover talent, whatever. But you have to be able to go after the label. You have to be able to go to YouTube, go after YouTube, who plays these videos when people are standing over people's grave sites and desecrating murals and doing all of these things. And as far as YouTube is concerned, you have to think about all the things in the past few years that you could not get away with saying on YouTube, all the things having to do with certain things being injected into people's bodies. And if you spoke on that in a critical way, you would get marked and basically you would get shadow banned, so on and so forth. Think about all the things on social media that you can't say. How can they allow a young Black man to go on there and say the names of the people that he personally has killed? I'm not just going to stop there. How can this person, King Von, get away with this and tweet about this, multiple murders, and go live about it, and everyone knew? And he was able to do this, and the police weren't able to apprehend him. The feds weren't able to apprehend him. Nobody in law enforcement was able to apprehend him, even or was able to put a case on him even though Elon Musk recently said when he took over Twitter, he was surprised at how much the government knew. The government has access to your DMs, and he was DMing people that he would ultimately kill, taunting them on social media. And he was able to continue to kill people on the South Side of Chicago. To me, there's no doubt that there is a plan, and that as long as Black people are killing one another, it is not a problem. Let those Black people do harm to any other race, and it's a national crisis. So yes, those are my takeaways from the King Von documentary. Overall, with all my skepticism and all my criticisms and all my pessimism on white people covering Black things, I gotta be honest with you, I'm gonna give that thing a 9. I would give it a 9 out of 10. And as disturbing as it is, I would recommend it as well. So let me know what you all think. Go on, drop something in the comment section. Give me some feedback on this one. And please, if there's nothing else that you do, subscribe to the tribe. Peace, tribe, and another one.